The studio lights burned like twin suns overhead, casting sharp shadows across the glossy stage floor. Millions of viewers were glued to their screens, waiting for the fireworks promised by tonight's special broadcast. Greg Gutfeld's eyes gleamed as he leaned into the microphone, his tone cool but electric, a hunter circling his prey. Across from him, Hillary Clinton sat stiffly, a veteran of decades of public battles. Yet even she could sense something unusual in the charged air, an ambush waiting to unfold. Greg opened with small talk, polite questions that seemed harmless, but each one nudged closer to a line. The studio audience chuckled, then grew silent as his tone shifted. He pulled a thin folder from beneath the desk and held it up like a weapon. "Tonight," he said, his voice slicing through the silence, "we're going to discuss something the public has never heard before." Hillary's eyes narrowed. Her hand twitched toward her glass of water. For a moment she looked less like the seasoned politician and more like any of us caught off guard, vulnerable under a spotlight. The reveal landed with the weight of a hammer. Greg described an old decision Hillary had made in private, years before, one she'd never intended for public ears. He framed it as a dark secret, but in reality it was more complicated, a desperate choice during a family crisis, born not of malice but of human imperfection. The audience gasped, social media lit up instantly. The camera captured her reaction in high definition, a flicker of pain, then anger, then something more determined. Hillary stood. "Enough," she said, her voice trembling but resolute. She didn't deny what happened, instead she told the truth. She spoke of the impossible position she had been in at the time, the private struggles behind her public life, and the mistakes she'd made trying to balance duty with family. Her words weren't polished talking points, they were raw, human, and unfiltered. For the first time in years, she let people see her as a mother, a friend, a woman who had been hurt and had hurt others, and who carried regrets like scars. Greg, momentarily thrown off, tried to regain control. "So you admit it?" he demanded. But the tide of the moment had shifted. Viewers saw a different kind of confrontation unfolding, not a takedown but an unmasking. The studio audience, initially hungry for drama, grew quiet with empathy. Some even clapped as she spoke of learning to forgive herself, of wanting to do better, of hoping her own mistakes might help others find courage to confront theirs. By the end of the segment, Hillary wasn't erupting in rage anymore but transforming that energy into candor. She challenged Greg directly. "You think this makes me weak? It makes me stronger. We are all more than our worst decisions." Her voice steadied, her shoulders squared. In that instant, the narrative flipped, from scandal to redemption, from spectacle to lesson. When the cameras stopped rolling, Greg looked at her differently. "I didn't expect you to say all that," he muttered. Hillary simply nodded, exhausted but at peace. The control room buzzed, producers scrambling to adjust to the viral moment. Social media was already filling with hashtags, but now they were about forgiveness, resilience, and transparency rather than scandal. In the days that followed, public opinion softened. Even some critics admitted admiration for her openness. A wave of op-eds and videos debated whether this was a turning point in how leaders confront past mistakes. For many viewers at home, though, the takeaway was simpler and more personal. If someone at the center of power could admit vulnerability and still stand tall, maybe they could too. And that was the lasting impact of the confrontation. What began as a televised ambush ended as an unexpected lesson in accountability, empathy, and the power of facing one's past. Hillary Clinton's eruption became not a downfall but a catharsis, reminding millions that secrets lose their power when exposed to light, and that courage, even under fire, can turn a dark secret into a moment of shared humanity.